Good morning, Bucknutters. Welcome to the Morning Five on Friday, December 19th, 2014. I am Dave Biddle, and I'm joined by Steve Hellwagon. Steve, yesterday we got a chance to talk to Urban Meyer, some assistant coaches, some players, basically a media day of sorts over at the Woody Hayes Athletic Center. And I had a chance to ask Urban Meyer about, Tom Herman's replacement, and he gave a very refreshingly honest answer. My follow-up question was going to be, is Ed Warinner a candidate? Well, I didn't need to get to the follow-up question because he brought up Ed Warinner without me even mentioning Ed Warinner, and he dropped several hints, it seemed to me, Steve, that he is leaning in the direction of promoting Ed Warinner to offensive coordinator and then bringing in somebody else from the outside, maybe to be quarterback's coach. What was your take from that? Am I reading too much into that? It just seemed like he dropped not just hints, but extreme heavy hints that he's thinking about promoting Ed Warinner.
No, I think you're dead on with that, and I think that it would be well-deserved. You look at what Ed Warinner has done at Ohio State and the games that they've won in the last 3 years, a lot of it is due to the offensive line. They really came back from a terrible performance early in the season against Virginia Tech, as Meyer said, one of the worst offensive lines, and then by the end of the year, they're out there dominating, the likes of Michigan and Wisconsin there at the end of the season and putting up huge yardage totals, huge point totals, and that's all because of the improvement of the offensive line. I mean, you think about that last game against Wisconsin, the entire key to the game was protecting Cardale Jones and making him comfortable, and that's exactly what they did. He had all day to throw those deep balls to Devin Smith. If they can work some kind of magic like that against Alabama, Sugar Bear, they're going to be playing for the national championship. So, yeah, I'm bullish on Ed Warinner. Anything they can do to placate him and keep him around for another few years would be great. You're going to have great coaches with Urban Meyer associated with him, and history shows with Dan Mullen and Adazio and all these other many guys who have jumped off the Urban Meyer train and gone and become head football coaches elsewhere, you're going to lose some great football coaches. And Tom Herman, in my mind, is that. It was kind of a neat moment. He came through the media room and didn't stop to do a lot of interviews yesterday, but everybody congratulated him, and one reporter who will remain nameless even gave it a go Cougars for him, and he's like, that's right. So, yeah, it's he's our guy, and hopefully he has 2 more games left on his Ohio State coaching tenure, the Sugar Bowl and the national championship game if the Buckeyes can make it.
We've got a ton of coverage on our site right now from yesterday, and we're going to have more today, but it's just unbelievable the amount of quality coverage on there yesterday. Steve's story on Urban Meyer with video. We have a story on Ed Warinner, asking him about the possibility of being promoted, and I asked Coach Warinner about that personally, and he can tell he's being a little coy about it. It's not his decision, so he doesn't want to say too much, but you can tell he wants that job. But I direct you to our site with the stories on Urban Meyer. We have a story on Chris Ash, story on Cardale Jones that Steve did with video. So, and plus the recruiting stuff from Alex Gleitman, Bill Kurlick, Steve Wiltfong. So we got tons of stuff on the site right now.
Dave, let me throw in there the Cardale thing. It's the first time, other than after that game in Indianapolis, we've had a chance to talk to him probably since the preseason. And he has come so far in such a short amount of time. I mean,
yep.
You think of him, go back to the not here to play school, you think of him as a dim bulb. He is not a dim bulb. He completely understands everything that is going on and is having the time of his life right now. And that is...
I put that on Twitter last night, man. That's a great point because I watched that video because, as you know, I was over interviewing Chris Ash and interviewing... For those that don't know, let's take you behind the curtain a little bit how this works. They don't come out and say, okay, guys, Cardale Jones is here. Here's your one-on-one with him, Steve Hellwagon. It's like, no, it's a big cluster of every reporter that's there, that's local, national, whatever. There was a bunch of people there yesterday, and they bring these guys out at the same time. Maybe not the exact same time, but maybe they'll bring Chris Ash out. Then 2 minutes later, Ed Warinner comes out. 2 minutes later, Cardale Jones comes out. So you have to play musical chairs. So Steve and I are splitting it up and whatnot. And so I didn't get a chance to actually interview Cardale or be over there while that was going on because I was interviewing the coaches. I didn't get a chance to see the video till last night, till I was done working. Steve, I was blown away. And I've talked to Cardale a little bit over the years, and I always thought that he got a little bit of a bad rap. But you're right. I mean, when you say this guy's when people say that this guy's done a 180, I mean, that's usually hyperbole. This guy has come a long way, and he sounded like a veteran. He sounded like a veteran to me, you know, and he very humble. And everybody needs to go to the site and check that out if you haven't already, the video interview with Cardale Jones, plus all the other great stuff we have on the site. Okay, moving on. One more football item that came out yesterday that was very interesting. A lot of people have been saying, Steve, Dontre Wilson is going to be back for the game, how great this is. And I've been saying, you know, listen, maybe he will be cleared, but this is going to be less than 2 months removed from breaking your foot. So even if you're medically cleared, how are you going to be at full speed? And you're a guy that relies on speed. Well, then Urban Meyer came out and took it one step further yesterday and said he's 50-50 at best. This tells me that he's a long shot to play against Alabama, and the 50-50 at best thing maybe is just to make sure Alabama game plans for him. But to me, Steve, I'm going to be shocked if we see Dontre Wilson out there on January 1st.
I agree, and unless he's 100% healthy, he should not play because he could definitely get injured again. And just let the kid heal. I mean, that's all that matters at this point, whether his next game is this game or in 2015 or what, you know, I guess this would be 2015, but I mean the 2015 season or whatever, or if they win this game and he's got a chance to play, you know, 2 weeks down the line in the national championship game, you don't want to turn that away just by rushing him back in there. So I agree 100%. Let it go. Jalen Marshall has done a great job at that position. He was kind of forgotten the last two games after having that 4-touchdown game there. I believe it was Indiana, Michigan, and Wisconsin. He didn't do much of anything. So maybe they're priming him to have a big game. I'm not sure. And that would really help Cardale as well to be able to just flip the ball to him and let him do the work. So, yeah, I'm excited to see the offense with or without Wilson against a very good Alabama defense.
Final topic. Let's move to hoops. Steve, you know I'm a big Ohio State basketball guy. I love watching Ohio State basketball, but I hate the exhibition season, as I call it. I mean, it's ridiculous. The cupcakes on the schedule, I know everybody has cupcakes, and I don't think they need to go the direction of Tom Izzo, but I think there's got to be a middle ground where they can play a better non-conference schedule. It's just absurd. Games like North Carolina A&T, Sacred Heart, High Point. I mean, there's schools that you can do a thing like, do these schools really exist, or are these fake names? You know, it'd be tough. And finally, though, other than the Louisville game, they get a break, a little hiatus from their exhibition slate. Tomorrow, 1 o'clock in Chicago, you will be there covering it. Ohio State against North Carolina. You see North Carolina, one of the most historic programs in college basketball. Not a great North Carolina team. They're ranked 24th. The Buckeyes are ranked 12th. I haven't seen the point spread. I'm assuming Ohio State's a pretty decent favorite in this game. Not double digits. I'm assuming they're favored, by 6 or 7 or so. Steve, your thoughts on this matchup with Ohio State, North Carolina tomorrow?
Yep, definitely excited to be going out to Chicago, flying out in the morning, flying back later in the afternoon or later in the evening. So it works out great to be able to get out there and back. I'm going to agree with you 100% on the schedule. Ohio State was not prepared in any way, shape, or form for what they saw when they got down to Louisville, and they fell behind by 19 points. I mean, you can't do that in a primetime game. And so now here comes the second opportunity to show you're worthy against North Carolina. In regards to the schedule, I'll just throw this in there. I believe it's been reported they're playing Memphis next year. They're playing Connecticut in the first of a home-and-home. They're also going to play Kentucky, I believe, at the Barclays Center next year. So it'll be interesting to see how many of Cal's McDonald's All-Americans stick around for next year when the Buckeyes play them as part of the CBS Sports Classic. And they'll have an ACC Big Ten opponent likely at home. So there's 4 pretty good games on next year's schedule. We know the rest will be complete crap as they were this year, and they are playing Miami and Wright State next week, so that is kind of a neat thing, at least to get a couple Ohio teams on there at the end. But back to North Carolina, they're 6-3. They lost to Butler in the battle for Atlantis, but then they came back and beat two ranked teams down there in the losers bracket. They beat UCLA and Florida down there. They got beat at home 60-55 by an Iowa team that I don't think's all that great. I mean, they just got drubbed at home by Iowa State. And then they went down to Kentucky last weekend. Not all that competitive. I think Kentucky pulled away and won 84-70. Of course, Kentucky's the number one team in the country, so that's not a indignity at all to have that. Their best win, probably UCLA or Florida at this point. Marcus Page is their outstanding guard. You know, North Carolina was preseason top 5, and to me, I love Roy Williams. He's won national championships there. He's done so many great things there. But the last year or two, they haven't been all that great. And I didn't feel that this team was going to be all that great either. And, you know, it's turning out that that's how it is. You lose to Butler. That shouldn't happen. You lose at home to Iowa. That shouldn't happen. So this is not a vintage classic North Carolina team. Having said that, Ohio State still hasn't proven a whole lot. Shannon Scott, his dad played at North Carolina. Charlie Scott, there'll be a lot of pressure on him tomorrow. He willed it under the pressure against Louisville. He's going to have to show up tomorrow in Chicago. He's coming off a great game the other night, 12 assists, 7 steals. If he could play like that against North Carolina, it's going to be, as Dick Vitale would say, an M and Emmer. I think D'Angelo Russell has a big game, and it should be a fun one, I think, for the Buckeyes tomorrow. National television, part of a doubleheader. The second game is Kentucky and UCLA. Great event at the United Center.
On the site today, of course, we'll have more team coverage, as I mentioned earlier. We'll have the boarding house coming out around noon, and we'll let the listeners know I'll be on 97.1 The Fan in Columbus from noon to 3. Today, co-hosting the Bishop and Rothman Show. We'll be talking a lot about the Buckeyes, of course, basketball and football. So 97.1 The Fan from noon to 3. Thank you very much to Steve Hellwagon. Great stuff from him, as always. Thanks to all the listeners out there. Really appreciate it. Hope everybody has a great weekend. Take it away, best damn band in the land.